Welcome to Random Rogers Big Picture for the week of January 21st. We've got a nice snowstorm outside, so I'm pretty excited about that. And we've got two things on the menu this week for the video. First is Vietnam, and second is an interesting debate that popped up on the blog pretty much on Friday. Some good stuff. So first, Vietnam. Vietnam is a very, very compelling story. I've been writing about it for a while. I first wrote about it for TheStreet.com back in April, so 9 months ago, or however long that is. I think I first mentioned it on the blog probably a year and a half ago, talking about what seems to me to be an inevitable ascendancy of the country. Capital is pouring in. There's a lot of growth. The stock market is growing. The stock market's had great returns. GDP is up near 8%. It's a fantastic story that everyone should be in, which is exactly why I sold half my position in that Vietnam Opportunity Fund that I've been writing about. I first had this thought a couple of days ago and decided that it was probably a pretty good time to cut back. There's been, as you know, a lot of excitement surrounding that market. That Vietnam Opportunity Fund that I bought, I'm pretty sure my price was $248, but it might have been $246. But either way, you get the idea. Yesterday, I believe it was, I saw it above $480. Today, I sold it at $473. And again, it was just half my position. I don't necessarily think that the market's going to cut in half. I'm not the one that's reasonably going to predict something like that. But all of that business that I just started with about hype, and all of that, that is starting to drift toward, sentimentally speaking, drift toward that market. And given that I'm up, I think 80% on it, you can do the math for yourself. But whatever that math works out to be, 70%, it made a lot of sense to me to cut back, take it back to its original weight, give or take. And I'm no less confident about the 5-year theme, but I wouldn't be surprised if it cut back. I think I mentioned on the blog I wouldn't be surprised if the next dollar in price were to be down. I probably would buy the shares back that I sold today. I owned it for 3 clients, and I owned it personally. Kind of a bigger picture, good reason to think about selling something. Just a whole lot of excitement. It's going great guns, and I was up a lot. Probably a good reason to scale back, not blow it out completely. I could be dead wrong. Vietnam could go up another 800% for all I know before it does anything else. I have no idea. If that happens, I'll capture some of it. And ultimately, that's what I'm trying to do. Next is this debate that popped up about whether or not to own individual stocks. We had some very reasonable comments left by people who don't believe in owning individual stocks. A couple of other very reasonable comments by people that do. Personally, I do believe in owning individual stocks. I don't think there's anything unreasonable in assembling a diversified portfolio that takes in all sorts of different products. To me, that makes the most sense. Now, I concede, and I've said this many times on the blog, I concede the fact that most folks are not going to want to devote the time to watching 40 stocks or 50 stocks or what have you. But I do think that the typical person who is a blog reader, meaning that they devote extra time to their portfolio as opposed to meeting quarterly with some sort of financial advisor, that type of person probably has the wherewithal to devote some time to 2 or 3 or 4 individual stocks into the mix, depending on how a do-it-yourselfer builds their portfolio. If they go after different sectors or they go after different cap sizes, frankly, I can envision either way filling gaps with a couple of individual stocks, even for the person that is mostly a fund buyer. The thing that I really don't agree with, and despite someone's kind comment to the contrary, I don't think that studying a stock, picking it, and then following it, I don't think it's that difficult. It is not right for everybody, but it is far from rocket science or black box or voodoo or anything like that, but it does take work. There are plenty of people that as a function of time don't have the time for a portfolio of stocks, and there are some people as a function, quite candidly, of skill that should not be involved with individual stocks. But if you've got a large portfolio and you want to be diversified, I have to think that diversification includes individual stocks. Let me also say, though, that this is not a someone's right and someone's wrong type of thing. It doesn't work that way. This is whatever each person is comfortable. The notion of the one person saying that stocks aren't right for individuals, that makes no sense. Individual stocks are right for some people and they're wrong for others. But to, project, your own opinion out to other people, to me that doesn't make sense. I think it's doable, but it's not going to be done by everybody. That much is certain. This is a controversial topic. It probably elicits a lot of debate. Tom Kay left a comment that was pretty thoughtful as well that you should probably go read. It's a multifaceted debate. I'm not solving anything here. I'm just saying that I don't think it's impossible. I just think that it does take time. And for the people that left comments that don't do that because they've got the introspection to realize it's not for them, those people are pretty damn smart. The people who, suffer crappy returns because their ego gets in the way and they continue to have, a bunch of four-letter stocks that they think they know, well, those people are the ones who are missing out, aren't they? One last thing, sign of a market top. Well, I'm being facetious, but if you watched the Kudlow show, I saw a few minutes, Doug Cass was on there, along with Stephen Abrams, and my old boss, Ken Fisher. And they were having a debate, and it was interesting. I've seen Doug Cass speak quite a few times, but never have I seen him or perceived him to be, and maybe it's a better way to say it, to be more emotional or worked up or frazzled, fill in the blank, as he was in this debate. He seemed to be very exasperated. And the way I said, sign of a market top like that was, he's a staunch bear, or however you want to describe him, short seller, whatever, and he sounded frazzled. If I'm reading that right, he was frazzled. Well, that's kind of an emotional capitulation. Maybe that means something, but I doubt it. Either way, that's it for now. Have a good weekend.